and gentlemen, Jazz Berganza here. What's next? Cancel culture. And I know it has been sadly, a main topic for a lot of social media pundits, including myself. But we're going to talk about one ongoing that seems just can't help themselves. This is in two parts. One is about cancel culture in general, and the other is about Disney. So you probably can see where I'm going here. But let's take a look. This comes out of Breitbart. And this was something that was done a few months back. Mr. Bean star Rowan Atkinson compares cancel culture to a medieval mob looking for someone to burn. Now, he did an online interview, and I was trying to find that online interview. Radio interview, excuse me, that he did with the UK Radio Times. British actor Rowan Atkinson, veered from leftist views embraced by the bulk of those in the entertainment industry that ripped into cancel culture, describing it as a digital equivalent of medieval mob roaming the streets looking for someone to burn. Quote, "The problem we have online is that an algorithm decides what we want to see, fact, which ends up creating a simplistic binary view of society, fact." End quote. The Mr. Bean actor said in an interview with UK Radio Times, quote, "It becomes a case of either you are with us or against us. And if you're against us, you deserve to be canceled." End quote. Perfectly said. Absolutely perfectly said. The Johnny English star emphasized that it is crucial for society to be exposed to a wide spectrum of opinion, but concluded that at this point, we have now, is the digital equivalent of a medieval mob roaming the streets looking for someone to burn. So it's scary for anyone who's a victim of that mob, and it fills me with fear about the future. End quote. He's absolutely correct. He's absolutely 1000% correct. This was done in January. He also said something equivalent 2 years ago. And there are those who said it 2 years ago. There are those who were saying it 5 years ago that this cancel culture, of course, the term was not phrased 5 years ago. Something equivalent was coming down the road. Now, I start off with that, and I'm going to jump to this. This comes out of Bounding by Comics. Star Wars promotes the new High Republic cover featuring trans non-binary Jedi twins in support of International Transgender Day of Visibility. Once again, Disney, just when you think you couldn't dig any lower, you dig that hole a little deeper. In honor of the International Transgender Day of Visibility, Star Wars has revealed a new variant cover for Star Wars The High Republic #6, depicting the newly introduced trans non-binary Jedi twins Tarek and Sarek. Drawn by Marvel Comics artist Javier Garron, the variant cover features Tarek and Sarek green-bladed lightsabers in hand, set against a purple hue space background. In the foreground, a pair of what appears to be High Republic era T1 shuttles can be seen flying by. Whoop-de effin' do. Alongside the cover, Star Wars official social media accounts, with the curious exception of their Twitter, wrote, quote, "We support trans lives and we are passionate and committed to broadening our representation in the galaxy far, far away." Of course, there's Twitter account. Oh my goodness, the continued nonsense and shenanigans. Now, as we see this, we are going to jump. We're going to jump to this. Why can't the woke trans agenda leave Star Wars alone? So that's how I'm gonna finish this up. I'm gonna wrap this up with this. This comes out of PJ Media. I don't know about you, but I turn to science fiction and fantasy to escape America's politicized outrage culture, not to look for it. It's fantasy, just like anything else. When you turn on a football game, you're supposed to be taken away from all the nonsense going on around you that you deal with on a daily basis. But sadly, we saw in the NFL, we saw in the woke NBA, which of course the ratings have crashed because of the stupidity and the ignorant and the nonsense of the Black Lives Matter garbage that was spewed all over the NBA, as we saw in the All-Star game, which had one of the lowest rated games in probably more than a decade, probably more so since maybe the old maybe prior to Magic and Bird coming into the league. That's how pathetic it's been. We saw it with the Major League Baseball when they were spray painting it all over the place. Whether it's movies or whether you are reading comic books, just leave it alone. Keep the politics out of it. Just keep it out. But I digress. I've been a long fan of Star Wars, The Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, The Avengers, and more recently, The Expanse. Each of these franchises has political elements, but of course, none of them comment on current hot button issues. They focus instead on the more eternal themes. Now, of course, my opinion is that if you were going to watch Star Wars, it would be the sequels prior to the last three that were thrown out there, because of course the last three were trash. Star Trek, all the classic movies, including the series, including Next Generation. Lord of the Rings, excellent. Slight political commentary, but the one thing about the Lord of the Rings is that the overarching story takes well precedent over the minor politics that are sprinkled in. Yet wokeness is increasingly smuggling its way into fiction. Oh no, it's not. No, it is full on. It is full on wave into this. Marvel is planning to insert alphabet characters, and the Star Wars Aftermath books did so too. Early reports about Amazon's TV show that takes place in the Tolkien Lord of the Rings universe suggest that the show is going for a far more sexualized style, which is an insult to J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. It's an insult to me. If I were J.R.R. Tolkien's estate, I would have never ever allowed Amazon to take to basically to build a story around the Lord of the Rings universe. I would have basically made it very clear to them, you are not to add anything that is going to disturb the Lord of the Rings universe. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't put gays, don't put trans, don't put, don't gender flip characters, don't do anything. This is what it is. And if you can't stay within the lines, if you can't draw within the lines, then you get no story. You get no rights to the story. That's what I would have done if I were the estate. But just that may well include alphabet themes as well. The Expanse features a lesbian pastor, and the main character has 7 parents who each the woke garbage continues to spew. Legacy media outlets may celebrate these alphabet characters as victories for diversity and representation, but these themes alienate conservative Christians like me and just people in general. You don't have to be a conservative Christian. just people in general. You just want good stories. That's all you ask. While I find the insertion of gay characters slightly annoying, very, any rush to celebrate transgenderism, the embrace of a nebulous, quote, gender identity, quote, over against concrete biological sex repulses me a great deal, as does me. As does me. It's called facts. It's called science. It's called faith. So when I saw the official Star Wars Facebook account not only celebrate the Transgender Day of Visibility, but pushed a book about trans and non-binary Jedi, I couldn't help but shudder. Of course, part of this is hilarious. Disney is falling all over itself, literally tripping over themselves with this woke nonsense. So it was enough to call these Jedi transgender. Sure, why not? They also had to be non-binary too. Let's throw that in as well. Never mind that non-binary rejecting gender stereotypes arguably means the opposite of transgender, embracing gender stereotypes of the gender opposites, one biological. To conclude, don't get me wrong, I acknowledge that gender dysphoria, a painful and persistent condition identify with people opposites one biological sex, yes, it's called a mental illness, exists, and that people who suffer from it deserve sympathy and help, professional help. You don't celebrate it. You don't run around with pom-poms in your hand. You take care of it from a professional standpoint, counseling, therapy, and so on. Their struggles are real. That is absolutely correct. That doesn't mean that the answer to gender dysphoria is transgender identity. However, while transgender activists often muddy the waters by pointing to intersex people, transgenderism is not about those unfortunate enough to have been born with two sets of genitals. Transgenderism pushes the idea of a person's biological sex, determined by chromosomes from the moment of conception, is less important or less real than his or her sense of gender identity. And I focused this on Disney, but as I said earlier, this affects, sadly, everything that was going on right now. What Jordan Peterson said back in 2016 in Canada as a professor, when he refused to call a girl a boy because, God forbid, she's a girl, and to call her by her, quote, proper pronouns, started a firestorm. 5 years later, it is full blown and it is vomiting all over what should be fantasy, a getaway. And this is the sad reality that we're living in right now, the quote, new normal. It's not for me, because it's about facts for me. It's about facts and evidence. And when it comes to transgenderism, it is a mental illness, and it needs to be dealt with as such. I've said that a number of times in a number of videos. It needs to be dealt with from a professional standpoint, never to be celebrated, never to be praised, never to be going, rah rah, you're so great, Dwayne Wade's son who think, basically, oh well, she's no, he's your son, period. When you got those celebrities who are raising their kids as, we're not going to raise our kids as he or she. They're going to decide whatever they want to be. No, at 3, 4, 5 years old. No, 6, 7, 8. No. When they are 16, 17, 18, 19 years old and they want to make it up, dude, girly, when you're out of the house, you can be whatever you want to be. But you're living under my roof, you are a girl. Period. You're a girl. You were born a girl. You're living a girl. You die as a girl. Same thing when it goes to men. You were born as a male. You will live as a male. You die as a male. Because God made you that way. You're not assigned anything. You're either a male or a female. Or, like I said prior, there are exceptions. When you're intersexed, when you're born a female with male genitalia, and vice versa. So that's my take. And sadly, when you have the woke mob, as Rowan Atkinson said, if you have a differing opinion, all of a sudden you are the enemy. You are either for us or against us. And if you're against us, we're going to cancel you. But you got to keep the fight. You got to keep putting out the facts and evidence over and over and over again. You got to keep hitting them in the head over and over and over again. We have been making strides, but at the same time, got to keep fighting. And with that being said, excuse me, sorry, I'm Jazz Borganzo. This is what's next. If you want to see more videos just like this, please comment below. Like it, share it, hit that subscription button, slam that notification bell so you don't miss a thing, and we'll see you next time. Peace.